Last week, I ran a video about Berlin and the protests and trying to calm the hysteria, and it backfired. Yes, it got a lot of views, but the hysteria seems ratcheted up to 11. And this only goes to 10, even though that's one more. So I've got my good friend Jan from Tesla Fix joining us. We are going to go through some of the comments and figure out what we think is actually going on. I'm Brian. Welcome to Future Asa.
Hi, everybody. I'm back again in my studio.
In his own studio.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Brian, yeah.
Thank you so much for allowing me use of your studio for the last week and a half. This has been a real lifesaver because otherwise I'd be shooting on my laptop from the other room, and that would be not nearly as good.
Sure.
Yeah. So here we've got some comments. Let's start with, I guess, this. Rent a mob is nothing new, unfortunately. Could you rent 500 people?
Yeah, it's, I don't know.
Mathematically, it's possible.
Sure.
But practically, it isn't. And
no.
yes, the fact that rent a mob can exist doesn't mean that that's what we've got here. If protesters are paid and protesters are participating in illegal activity, it would seem reasonable to be able to arrest the financier for inciting criminal activity. So, first of all, I don't know the laws here, but there's no evidence that this has happened.
Yeah, because, the thing with this comment is that if paid protesters are participating in illegal activities, the financer should be arrested for inciting criminal activity. Yeah, of course, but who's the financer? None. There are some groups that organize together to rent a bus probably to get there, but those are, or whatever. I mean, if
rent a bus.
Yeah, for example, if they do, but they're just like.
It wouldn't surprise me if Volkswagen did it. Is that possible? Is it? I mean, we went over this. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense because they would do this. And people also said in the comments, for example, that, but Dieselgate, they already lied. Of course. And it came out and it was a huge problem for them that cost them billions of dollars, especially in the US.
But that was an internal situation where they could, in theory, control everybody. This is a better example of a comment that I don't care for. They were never going to be paid directly by a company like VW. If it happened, it would be something like this. VW gives money to an environmental group, and then that group uses this money at a minimum to provide food, protest materials, and maybe tents and wood for the tree houses. The environmental group might have paid organizers, and they might spread. Where to start? If it's a real environmental group, and this group is known, I don't know. Can you track their source of funding? Please do. Please track their source of funding. But how would they know who to target? How would they not end up targeting the wrong? Because if you give money to just any environmental group, they're going to go after who they want to go after.
So I can tell you this from that angle. There are funds from different parties that help organizing or help to kind of finance something like a protest as well, probably with merchandise or anything. But the thing is, I don't know if fund is the right term, but kind of if they are funded by some sort of entity, if the entity is always funding protests that are pretty radical, they will get banned at some point, or
they will. The more people you get, we said this before, the more people you get involved, the harder a conspiracy gets to hide. I know someone who was paid to protest, not Tesla. Not only paid, but their flight was covered too. Okay, who were they paid to protest? Please tell me. Let's give this some meat. Let's find out what's actually going on, because I dug to find examples of paid protesters, and most of what I found was not true. And there are, so here's a comment that I actually do like. Berlin is one of the hubs of the European anarcho scene. Grünheide is quite close to Berlin. Americans even call the factory Giga Berlin. We met a gentleman from Grünheide, you and I, today, right? Was that today or yesterday? No, that was today.
Yeah, it was today. Yeah.
And he told us all about what was really going on. He said, I live in that area, not even Berlin. I live in Grünheide. Berlin, it has a protest culture.
Yeah.
And there are people who will go out and protest anything. At any time.
Yeah, and also the point with the anarcho scene, that's pretty true. That's actually like this. And this one was one of the most reasonable comments, I would say, because that's true. They are anarchs, and this means they don't like almost anything that the state does. They want to have chaos, kind of. And that's what they do. And they go there and organize themselves and drive with the Deutsche Bahn there, the train, the railway system, and just protest almost everywhere. And most of them are actually unemployed and get paid by the state, which is, that's what I mean. They are financed kind of by the taxpayer. That's what I said last time.
They don't have jobs. If they did,
yeah,
you have to go to work. It's not necessary to pay people to protest. With a little funding, you can organize naive people with misinformation and convince them to protest. Who bought them all those blue hats, though? So I didn't notice blue hats. It didn't stand out to me. But if that's the evidence you've got, that is not evidence. If you were trying to buy people, why would you buy people matching hats in a conspiracy? Why would you give them hats that say secret club do not talk about? That is, I don't know where this blue hat thing came from, but we've got, it keeps coming
I think in the footage there were people that wore blue hats, but that's also not too complicated to organize or to pay. I think if you buy merchandise hats, how much do they cost? 200 euros for maybe, I don't know, 100, 200?
Yeah, 100
or 5 or 2 euros per hat or something like this.
Very cheap.
Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't really... because people can organize today pretty easily. It's not that always there's something behind it in that sense. Like I said, there are organizations that help those kinds of protests somewhere if the cause is aligning with their political views, but a radical anarcho scene is not represented in any group because they will be actually prosecuted at some point because they are watched by the Verfassungsschutz, it's called. So there is a Verfassungsschutz that actually...
Sehr gut.
Sehr gut. Yeah, but let me...
German is very good.
Yeah, it should be. So Verfassungsschutz is actually...
It's like a investigative group, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that it's an entity by the state to protect the constitution. And when groups are trying to overthrow the government or overthrow the constitution or try to tinker with that or try to throw basic laws out of the window, they will be watched and prosecuted at some point. So that's what I mean. It's almost like a secret service kind of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
That looks into potential constitutional violations.
Yes.
So, well, this one is very important. Would have been nice if Jan went out and talked to the protesters instead of speculating, which I can do as well.
Let's just say I live in Germany. I read the news in Germany. I know people from Grünheide. I know people from Berlin. I went to Berlin a couple of times, and I know how the people are and what the scene looks like, the different scenes that we have. There are also right-wing scenes and other scenes that they are pretty open. In the news, we see that all the time. But I live in the southest point of Germany, and Grünheide is in the northest point of Germany.
It's far away. It's far away, and going there and trying to talk to them would not provide. First of all, it'd be dangerous.
Yes,
it'd be a bad idea.
Absolutely,
and it wouldn't provide new information because they don't want to talk to you. If they're willing to talk to anyone, they've already done it, and you can pull up the interviews yourself. But this is. The reason I'm asking Jan for these answers is because this is qualified speculation. This is how we figure things out that we wouldn't have figured out otherwise. Well, who? VW, Mercedes, BMW, German media. Please stop.
So one thing to note here as well, because of the protesters, there are actually videos of people that try to get into the forest, and they are pretty violently stopped. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the police at some point have had to step in because this couldn't go further. But they were careful not to, if they upheld the rules that of protesting, then there was no incentive for them to get in, because this is also a constitutional right to protest. Camping in a forest is a little bit a gray zone, but still it's considered as a protest itself. So that's a constitutional right. So
weren't they on private? Isn't it on Tesla's land?
Yeah, it is.
So that's a civil matter, not a criminal matter necessarily, because it's not like they're on a government land where they could kick them out. It's Tesla's. I mean, and it's not like you're using that land. It gets tricky.
Let's say it gets tricky, but of course the police could step in because it's they're occupying a place where they shouldn't be or not allowed to be. So but still it's like you cannot just enter the forest and talk to those people because they are radicals.
And it wouldn't help. It wouldn't provide the information. Now, this is a great one. This is a great comment. Congratulations, we did it. I like how you handled this. Rational, logical. I believe they were paid protesters. The hats they had on looked like they were handed out on the bus.
So this is deeply speculative, of course.
We've gone so deep. Now there's a bus. By the way, you don't need a bus if they're going to be in. I mean, I don't know how they got there, and neither does Giggle Stick 3171. So that's on this channel. We deal with facts, just facts. Facts is all I care about. When it comes to speculation on cars and stuff, on rumors we have heard about cars and stuff, we don't always share them. We seldom share them because they're usually wrong. There are 100 theories here, and maybe one of them is right, and maybe it's yours. Is it possible that someone's paying them? Yes, it's possible. Sure. It's possible. But to say this person is or this person is extremely unlikely. And it ignores the simplest answers. And the simplest answers are often the right ones.
Good example would be that comes into my head is those protest waves of the, I don't know how they called in English. We call them the Klimakleber.
We don't call it that.
Yeah. We call it them the Klimakleber because they are gluing themselves on the street. I mean, it's how's the protest group called with the orange jackets that just glue themselves to the road in England?
Well, I only know of Stop Oil.
It's Stop Oil. Yeah, they are called differently here, but
they tried to destroy the Magna Carta.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, oh no, yeah, absolutely ridiculous, but. This is also organized, and there is funding behind that, of course. And because it's organized over Europe and the US and stuff, so that's a group that's organized with funds that fund them. But if they always conduct illegal activities, at some point they will be banned. Those groups will be banned, especially also the funding will be banned at some point. Because when you see, there is a fund that actually organizes a lot of these radical protests that cost the state a lot of money and stretches over the constitutional right, they will put a stop to that. So that's what I mean. There could be entities that pay them, for example, that align with their political views. For example, like Die Linke, the left, is a party that you can vote in Germany. Or when a right group is protesting, probably a right-wing group like the AfD, for example, in Germany, they could also fund funds around that. But still, maybe hats, merchandise, I don't know, some signs, some T-shirts, that's not an indication of anything that VW is behind that or anything, because you cannot draw this conclusion.
It doesn't make sense.
Because if we could actually unravel this, then the state could or anyone else and prosecute them.
So, Brian, were you in the U.S. Army stationed in Berlin back in the 70s? No. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. These people are paid, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry Tesla's not hired lawyers to go after them. Right. I get that a lot of people think that, but we don't have the facts. You know, people think that we're paid by Tesla.
I wish we were. No.
It would
no.
be, I mean, depends how much we're talking. I would love it if I was paid by Tesla. That would be fantastic. I think it would be great for me. But we're not. And then then I even had, before the trip here, you saw it on X, a gentleman I said, I'm leaving for Austria. And he said, who's funding it? How are you funding this? And I said, I bought my ticket with Sky Miles. I am staying at Jan's house. And that's kind of it. We
drove with my car.
We drove with his car to get there. I've bought food. So, but I buy food no matter where I go. I still eat. So the costs have been almost none. But people still say we are bought and paid for. This is the same conspiracy, but from the other side, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Let's stick to facts. So who pays me? My Patreons. My generous Patreons help me make this channel happen. YouTube pays me. So
remember Dieselgate is also a good one.
Remember Dieselgate, and that's true.
I remember Dieselgate.
It wasn't a conspiracy. It was a company committing fraud.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was,
and it was kind of it dripped out, and suddenly someone tested with a different testing, and they realized it was in the US. They realized, hey, they tinkered with the emissions. So the way they are testing it is in a test area, and then in the test area, the emissions are actually lower. They switch off when you drive them on the Autobahn, for example, not in a test condition. That's how it was uncovered. So it was just fraud by a company that they did. It's not the same. It's not the same at all.
There were a few comments saying George Soros, he's a political boogeyman. Another comment about Soros said that it has his fingerprints all over it. It's exactly his style. It isn't his style. It isn't his style. He does engage in activism, but this ain't it. He would not protest, first of all, against Tesla. Second of all, in Germany, the pieces don't add up.
I can tell something about this. We had a wave of Atomkraft, nein danke. So atomic power, no thank you.
Yes.
So they protested against atomic energy, about atomic reactors, you call them?
Reactors.
Yeah, nuclear reactors to generate power since the 70s. And the Green Party was pushing that very hard because they were founded by the same people. The Green Party was founded by the same people. They had a lot of overlap. So, of course, the Green Party that was built out of this thing to protest against, for example, nuclear energy and those kinds of stuff, it makes sense that this party has an incentive to also help protesters for this cause. Sometimes even parties just join the protests as well to show support. Or the financial entities that fund the parties itself, there are different funds that help organize those protests or fund those protests. So, but like I said, they will be prosecuted if they just fund radical groups or terrorism or something like this. For example, burning down the electrical power line is also...
Talk about that. Yeah. There was a comment that said, how come they haven't caught those people yet and prosecuted them? Well, part one of that is we don't know what the investigation process is. But let me give you an example from my state, from Washington State. Someone burned down a transformer station, a substation, burnt the thing down. And then a week later, another one burnt down, and then a third one burnt down. Why didn't they catch them? Well, they did catch them after the third one. And what they did was pulled whose cell phones pinged this tower, and this tower. These two people. We found them. It's these two cell phones were at all three crime scenes. This is one crime scene that happened once. The data would not be reliable. The data would not be sufficiently robust. Does that mean they're never going to catch them? No. But investigations can take time. They may still be caught.
And one more thing to add to that is you have to know that protesting in Germany is a constitutional right, like in the US as well. But it's important to listen to this and to get this into your head, because you cannot just shut down protests as easily, like, because it's a constitutional right. They're camping, they're doing something there. It's a difficult situation also to approach, because you want to get those tanked up police officers walking through the forest, falling around. Right. Is that effective? No. But we will see in the next couple of weeks that this thing will be cleared at some point. Mm-hmm. And then it will look totally different then, because they are strategizing how to approach this problem. They are planning the whole time in the back. Yeah. So, yeah.
And people complain that sometimes police are too forceful, and then they complain that they're not forceful enough. And there's a big overlap where the same thing will be seen as too forceful and not forceful enough. I feel sorry for these guys. Electric cars are not the future. I thought we'd end with a funny one, because that's pretty funny. Go back to your cave. And then this one is another funny one. Not paid by Tesla, you say? Well, let's take a look into that, Brian. You received a Tesla designer bag worth $10,000. I got a tote bag. It's like a $1 black tote bag. And a Tesla smart cap worth $5,000. I got a big
okay. That's really funny.
It is really funny. Shame on me. You know what? The hat is now for sale for $5,000, and so is the bag
eBay.
for $10,000.
Yeah, on Brian's eBay.
If you would like to buy those, my friend, they are available.
Please buy them. I also have a very expensive designer tote bag. Not tote bag.
No. It's just designer.
It's absolutely a designer bag. Yeah, I can sell it also for $5,000. I would love to. I would really love to do that.
Thank you for brightening my day. That was worth it. Yeah. So I think we should just wrap it up, because we've gone too long, and we've got another video to shoot, and then we've got a podcast.
Yeah, sure.
It's busy. I work hard. And by the way, in our previous video, when we talked about Teresa at the hotel, she was saying, oh, you make videos on YouTube. I go, yeah. She's, oh, but you're here, so you're not making. I said, no, it's still 2 a day. And she goes, 2 a day? Yes, 2 every day. And then today she saw us, or this morning when we were leaving, she goes, did you make 2 videos today? I'm like, I make 2 videos every day.
Yeah.
That's what I got to do. And the rest of the day I spend researching and talking to people and meeting people. And I try to hang out with my family, but they're just not interested. So what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? Like, subscribe, do what you got to do. Leave some more comments. I just ask you to stick to facts. Stick to what is known. Chasing conspiracies will drive a person mad. And there are plenty of insane comments here.
Yeah, but if you have an own opinion and you declare it clearly that this is, I feel like this might be, you could use words like this. I think that's very important. Sometimes also when I'm in talking and speculating, I sometimes don't really disclose that, oh, wait a second, this isn't a fact, that's my opinion. That's what I also try to really focus on and be more precise, and I'm learning that too. But it's important to really separate yourself from facts and your opinion. Draw the line there, and then you can comment whatever you like.
Then you can comment whatever you like, but saying something
don't
with
paint it
certainty.
as facts. Yeah,
there are other YouTube channels where I've seen people go off on conspiracies, and it's not healthy, it's not wise, and it's frequently wrong. I don't report single source rumors, and that sometimes makes me the last to report the news, but I'm very reliable, and it's fine. It's good.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, stay juicy. I cannot wait to hear from you, clever robots, on the next one.